Now, as the days draw closer to the official commencement of the African Continental Free Trade Area, different stakeholder engagements have begun as countries begin to fine-tune their trade policies and business environments, particularly to benefit from the trade agreement valued at $1.3 trillion. The chapter chair, National Association of Government-Approved Freight Forwarders, Dr. Segun Musa, joins us now for an assessment of government's readiness from the angle of ports and border operation, plus other issues relating to port operations in the country. And he's right here with us in the studio. Good morning, and thank you for coming on the program.
Yes, thank you very much for having me here again.
All right, let's begin our conversation with getting your thoughts on Nigeria's readiness for the implementation of the EFCFTA from your own angle and looking at your industry.
Yes, thank you very much. First and foremost, we need to acknowledge the fact that there's a great opportunity for a country like Nigeria that we've been getting overwhelmed with economic crisis and depreciation in our currency and so many other things that has been affecting us. And I'm expecting the government to actually take a proactive measure this time around so that we will be a kind of beneficiary in this scheme rather than just being a dumping country. Let me start by saying it's a great opportunity for the largest free trade area in the whole world, like we have under the AU, the Continental Trade Free Trade Agreement. We are expecting government to begin to look inward and see majorly the players and how to encourage them in order to be able to participate effectively. Let's start with the ports. Our port need to be business friendly. What we have now does not represent what we are expecting in the bigger picture. We have a kind of port system that the period for clearing of cargo is so wide. You have so many agencies that you have to face bottlenecks here and there. If we are to actually participate in this opportunity, we need to embark on measures that will enhance trade facilitation because we're going into integrating trading activities. And if we have to participate effectively and play a major role, then it behoves on us to have a business-friendly port. Both the airport and seaport and the border stations.
And so what are some of these measures that we're talking about here?
When you have multiple agencies, it's a big problem. When you have to pass through one table to the other to process your clearance, your import procedure, and every other thing, it's a big problem. When you have inconsistency in government policy, it's a big problem. And let me start with ports. Number one, when you look at the corridor of the ports, it's nothing to look holistically as enhancing trade facilitation. The corridor is extremely bad. Because it is not only when you process your document that you've cleared cargo. It is when the cargo gets to the final destination, that's when you've cleared cargo. So there's a difference between conducting an examination and releasing your cargo from clearance of your cargo. Cargo is believed to have been cleared when it gets to final destination. So when you have a corridor that is not business friendly, it's a big problem. Aside that, we have a kind of custom government policy that is not encouraging business, inconsistency in the policy. Today you wake up, the exchange rate just go up without any expectation. Of course, it kills business. So we have so many challenges in the port, talking about multiple agencies. You have to go through the regulatory agencies. You have, at times, you do have some agencies that regulate, about 2-3 agencies regulating a single importation. All these are bottlenecks to trade facilitation, and it must be looked into.
Well, these bottlenecks that you have mentioned now didn't just start. They've been there, for so long. So why has these issues lingered for so long? Is it that you have not probably channeled your grievances to the government, or what exactly, why has it dragged on for so long?
Yeah, over time we've engaged government, and I could remember vividly, about 8 years ago, government actually moved out most of these agencies out of the ports. But you know the kind of politics we always had to our economy in this part of the country, where some of the agencies will say, look, we are under a ministry and we have mandate to be in the ports. And we used to challenge all those discourse. And I think The major problem we have is because we don't have a national interest. If we have national interest, government would have been able to define how the port will be well managed, who and who are to be in the port. It's not about my ministry saying I should be there and I have to be there. There are so many measures all over the world. People are moving ports into a kind of automation that you don't even need to be there in the port. You can regulate whatever you can regulate online. You don't have to be in the port physically. We are still living in the Stone Age when we don't want to move and align with international best practices, probably because of corruption. But somebody needs to bear the cost. Somebody needs to call the attention of government that, look, if you want to operate international ports, there are rules and regulations that you must follow. There are protocols that you must follow. And you must engage stakeholders accordingly. And that's the only time we can say, yes, we are among shipping or maritime or aviation country of the world, and we are ready for trade facilitation and business integration. With what we have presently now, if we are to key into the African continental free trade area, you will realize that a lot of people will prefer patronizing countries like Ghana, like Cotonou, like Abidjan, because most of them are prepared.
How are they prepared? What are they doing that we are not doing?
Over time, they've been preparing for this. Why Nigeria never prepared for it?
Would you really say Nigeria never prepared for it, or the preparations are not enough?
I served under ECOWAS as president, representing Nigeria under ECOWAS on trade liberalization. That's Lagos-Abidjan corridor for a year. And during all this engagement, because we are the advocacy group for the trade liberalization in ECOWAS, we do engage most of these stakeholders in other ECOWAS states. And when we discuss, we always realize that we are still far behind. And we do engage government as well that, look, these are the protocols that we need to follow for us to align with the best practices. But definitely it always made the deaf ear. And government seems not to have major interest in the maritime sector and the aviation sector. Government only believes that as much as revenue comes in, whether the port is advancing to that international standard or not, as far as revenue is being collected, I think they are satisfied with that. But the main thing is the ships is down now. Take, for instance, we signed an agreement under ECOWAS for common external tariff a few years ago. We are signatory. And at the end of the day, the essence of that custom external tariff is to ensure that if you are bringing any import into ECOWAS state, you can drop it in Cotonou, you can drop in Ghana, you pay your custom duty there, and you just transit it down to final destination. When it gets to your border, they will only log in, check where it landed, the duty you've paid, the report from the examination, and they will allow you to go. And the essence of that is just to capture the revenue that has been paid so that the ECOWAS Custom Union will be able to harmonize the revenue collected. That is the essence. But only Nigeria is not prepared, and that's why it was frustrated. Again, when I was serving under ECOWAS, I remember vividly that the project of Seme border, the border in Seme that has just been developed, was 100% financed by European Union. And Cotonou gave us the land. Nigeria never participated in contributing aside our expertise. But at the end of the day, when it was commissioned, the first thing we had was government did not trust this. It's not trusting this, and they have to shut down the border.
But they will have their reasons.
No, the reason, you have to measure the reason. Is it the best approach as at that particular time, when we have so many other measures? You see, you are dealing with other country here. It's not about your own personal internal state. And you cannot sanction other country because there are issues. There are so many approach and protocol that you can follow. I would have expected our government to have engaged the ECOWAS and said, look at this, we can't tolerate this. What do we do? Engage other countries are also involved. Look, we can't tolerate it. If this continues, this is the measure we're going to take. But you cannot just wake up because we are big and say you want to sanction.
So are you saying that there was no engagement at all?
No, there was no engagement. I started under the ECOWAS. And I condemned it initially when it started. And I said, look, we have so many other approaches that we would have used because it did not affect them as much as it affects our own business community here. Businessmen and businesswomen enterprises, they lost billions of dollars. And government does not even have any barometer to check the impact of that measure. They only brought out the excuse of security risk. And
Which
we
is a
cannot,
valid
because
point.
it's a point, but there are measures that you would have taken that would have taken care of that. There are so many options. If you're talking about rice, okay, we don't want imported rice to come into Nigeria. Do we have capacity for rice? No, we do not. What we can yield is not up to 1/3 of what we need as local consumption. We don't have to continue deceiving ourselves. A simple economics says you should concentrate on your competence. We have other competence that we can actually develop, and that's brought us back to this Africa continental free trade area. If you have so many competence that you've abandoned, and you're looking at areas that you don't have competence, and you want to force yourself to develop it, you jack up the price and nobody will patronize you. Ab initio, we buy rice for 5,000 per bag. Today, because we want to concentrate on local content, we are buying for 40,000 per bag. It does not make any economic sense to anybody. That is to show we don't have the capacity. Before now, we buy cement for 300 and something naira. Today, we buy for more than 3,000 naira. It does not make any economic sense. And I think government should remove politics from governance. There's a difference between government and governance. Otherwise, you just allow some few capitalists to monopolize the market and destroy the economy.
Now, let's talk more about the issue of the border closure, which, you've actually stylishly touched on now, talking about the rice now. But has there been any significant improvements in cargo movements since the land borders were shut over a year ago?
No, it has been shown that there's no movement. A lot of investment has been wasted that runs into billions of dollars. And a lot of people cannot even survive it again. This is more beyond, it's far more than what we are talking about NSAS. People lost huge investment because government should have put into consideration that people that patronize this corridor are entrepreneurs that cannot afford to go into China market, go into Asia, America, Europe market. And they look at opportunity within the corridor of ECOWAS to patronize and integrate trade. You are looking at small enterprises that are taking advantage of the ETLS to bring in commodities. Some are perishable, and all these are now waste. Sincerely speaking, I see that as a snap judgment. I see that as an attitude that does not put into consideration the impact assessment, because the impact is huge.
Now, Dr. Musa, one of the issues is the fact that there are 6 ports in the country. But of course, over the years, there's been more traffic, more concentration on the Lagos ports. Why has this lingered for so long?
This year has to boil down to government policy and approach. If we want to be a maritime nation, government should look beyond Lagos ports. And even aside that, we can even, as part of measure that I recommended about 10 years ago to government, that look, it's high time we decentralize Apapa. Begins to look at other corridor where we can bring up lighter terminals. We have Ikorodu, we have Ekpe, we have Badagry, we have so many other corridors that we can open up, we can bring in investments. Investors are willing to participate. All we need to do is just to ensure that we sign an agreement under favorable terms with them, because that has been the major problem with the Nigerian government. When the government signs an agreement with you, you invest your future into the country, and that government will come tomorrow and say, look, you did not pass through due process, and they will kill that investment. And that's why a lot of investors are not coming. Government needs to be very proactive and look at, you see, business is not just about bringing your resources. It's all about operating within a conducive atmosphere, a business-friendly environment. And that's what encourages businesses. A lot of indigenous investors are taking their money outside the country to invest. Not because they cannot invest in Nigeria, but because the enabling environment is not there. So if some of us are investing outside Nigeria and the foreign investors are seeing us that we are rushing out, of course, they will say something is wrong. Why are you not investing in your country? Why are you coming to our country? And that is a major problem. And for instance, the approach to the closure of border now is affecting most of us that also have investment outside Nigeria, especially in Ghana, Abidjan, and the rest of the countries, because they are now hostile to us. They look at our country as, because we are big, Nigeria would have done that if we are as small as Cotonou. This is economic sanction on those countries. Although it has more bigger effect on our business community, but it's a sanction. And the law the international treaty and protocol does not allow any country to do that. If under a situation we have a real ECOWAS that is operating accordingly, Nigeria would have been sanctioned. You don't do that. You don't muzzle big, smaller countries just because you have the strength. You don't do that.
But there were so many reasons why that had to be done.
We've mentioned the
Nigeria
reasons.
was literally becoming, a dumping ground, and then smuggling and all that.
If you don't want to be a dumping ground, what capacity do you have to satisfy your local consumption? I've just talked about rice. In Nigeria here, if all the fertile land for rice, if we fertilize, we manure, we do every nutrient we need to put in it, we will yield just 1.3 million metric tons per hectare of rice. And Nigeria needed almost 3.6 metric tons per hectare to satisfy our local consumption, not for export. So how are you going to complement the remaining that will satisfy our local consumption? Now, we don't even have the land with enough nutrients to grow that. So what we are producing as of today is 0.2 point something metric tons per hectare. And we need 3.6 metric tons. And that's why you have rice jumping to 30,000, 40,000. And it's still going to 100,000. So it doesn't make any economic sense.
We hope it doesn't get to that point.
No, what the government needs to do is just to use import to complement. Even in the days of pyramid of cashew, pyramid of cocoa, we are fully into agriculture. We still import rice. You remember Uncle Ben's? You remember so many rice we do bring in. But that does not kill our economy. What government needs to put in place, when you are importing this rice, the revenue collected on those rice will be channeled into a pool that will support local content. People that want to go into rice farming, milling, and the rest will be able to access loan at 0%.
Okay.
So that to be able to compete with the imported rice.
All right.
And by the time you continue improving on the quality of rice, definitely people will begin to patronize you. It's not a rocket science thing.
I know we could go on and on with this conversation, but time would not permit us. We'd like to thank you, Chapter Chair, National Association, or the Deputy President. Oh, wow.
In charge of all the airports in Nigeria.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much for that clarification, Dr. Segun Musa. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me
program.
here.
I appreciate your time.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.